From NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, you're watching live coverage of the 13th SpaceX cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. Hi, I'm Stephanie Martin, and thanks for joining us. Today's launch to the station is scheduled for 10:36 a.m. Eastern from Space Launch Complex 40 on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Coming up, you'll hear about the exciting research heading to the station and get a sneak peek on the events happening here at Kennedy Space Center in 2018. Today's launch will be the first of the year from Pad 40. The Dragon spacecraft and Falcon 9 rocket at the launch pad both previously flew on cargo resupply missions for NASA. At the time of launch, the space station will be flying 258 miles above northern Oman at the southeast tip of the Saudi Peninsula. The Cargo Dragon spacecraft will deliver about 4,800 pounds of science, research, crew supplies, and hardware to the orbiting laboratory. Today's launch has an instantaneous window, which means SpaceX has a single second to launch. About 10 minutes after launch, Dragon reaches its preliminary orbit. It will then deploy its solar arrays and begin a series of thruster firings as it heads to the space station for its targeted arrival on Sunday, December 17th. We're about 34 minutes from today's launch. NASA's Joshua Finch and Mike Curie are monitoring SpaceX's countdown activities in the control center. Guys, how are things progressing for today's launch?
Hey, thank you very much, Stephanie. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Mike. Things are progressing toward liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Everything's from our position is going well at the moment. Today's will be the first launch from Space Launch Complex 40 since 2016. Mike, can you tell us more?
Yeah, in a recent interview on Pad Status, SpaceX said that they looked at this not only as an opportunity to rebuild the pad after they had an anomaly, but also to modernize it and make it high-tech. The pad, originally built in the 1960s for the Titan rocket fleet, was leased by SpaceX in 2007. The company then made initial upgrades to Space Launch Complex 40 to accommodate the Falcon 9 rocket.
The recent upgrades started with stripping the pad down and adding reinforcements to streamline operations. Some of the pad enhancements include a new transporter erector, augmenting the water systems to add a water-cooled flame diverter, and upgrading the liquid oxygen system.
And with the completion of this pad, SpaceX now has the capability to launch from two locations on Florida's Space Coast. Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center and here at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station Space Launch Complex 40.
The countdown has progressed per the timeline. The milestones already performed include collision avoidance coordination with the Eastern Range, a checkout of the Flight Autonomous Termination System, loading of RP-1 began as planned. The Eastern Range confirms it is go for the launch and landing of the Falcon 9 first stage at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station Landing Zone 1, and the loading of liquid oxygen began at T-minus 35 minutes at 10:01 a.m.
And weather today does not appear to be a concern for us. U.S. Air Force 45th Weather Squadron Officer Lieutenant David Myers, our launch weather officer today, briefed the team earlier and says that we can expect winds 9 to 12 miles an hour from the south-southwest, temperature 67 degrees at the time of launch. The only concern that he mentioned was the thick cloud rule, which does not appear to be a concern, even though officially the forecast still says 10% probability of violation. He briefed the team that he is expecting no launch commit criteria violations this morning, so that's good news. And for now, that is our status from Falcon Launch Control. And Stephanie, we will hand it back to you.